Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. My name is Heather and this is Create Your Own Cozy. On today's video, I played with the new paint inlay from IOD. That it was a collaboration with Annie Sloan. This color palette is definitely more my cup of tea. When it was released, I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw these Cameo faces, it was a little bit of whoa, that's a lot. However, they grew on me, and you'll see that in a couple of my projects today. But the real star of this inlay is all of the different designs and neutral pieces that can be put on smalls and furniture projects. So if you want to see what I came up with this inlay, stick around. So here is the paint inlay. I forgot to give you a little tour before starting to cut it up. So I'm just going to show you. There are 4 of each of the little cameos. There are some scallops and these little gray things. I did cut some pieces already, but there are 2 of each of the bigger cameos. There are 4 of those. Technically there are 4 of those. I just had already used 2. There are 6 of these, which might be my favorite, and then there are 4 of those, even though I had already used 1, and 4 of those. So you can see there are a lot of options. Let's go ahead and get started on project number 1. I had thrifted this case for $4. It's a very big case for $4. It was in very rough shape. So in my mind, I had a very rough looking end product, and when I say rough, I just mean heavily distressed, and it looked like it had traveled a little bit. So I went over it with 2 coats of DIY paint in the color Faded Burlap. I'm excited to say, guys, I do have all the DIY paint products, top coats, waxes, paintbrushes, and the DIY IOD Paint Inlay over on my website at createyourowncozy.com. Go check it out over there. I'm excited to be doing that now. So after 2 coats of Faded Burlap, I decided I wanted this wet distressed with baby wipes. Thought that would be a really cool look coming back through, and some of the tones of this match the paint inlay, so I'm really excited that I did this. Next, after I've done 2 coats, I'm going to do a 3rd coat of paint on the parts where I'm going to do the paint inlay. And again, with this paint, not too heavy, not too light, because when you put the paint inlay over the top of this, you need wet paint for the paint on the strip to adhere to. And I'm just rubbing this in really well. And after I am happy with how this is laying, I am going to do the other side, making sure that the same double black lines are on the outside. Just check your patterns with these guys, because if they're not exactly the same, you want it to look the same on each side. So I did another coat, put the paper down, use my continual mister to wet the product on the back side. Made sure I had a paper towel so that I didn't have a whole bunch of drippy water, but you just want to make sure that you wet the paint again from the back side so that it completely adheres to the paint underneath. Now you let this dry completely before moving on to the next step. So I decided where I wanted these little busts to go, and I decided I want them facing out and not in. I don't know, like they're mad at each other or something. They're facing each other, it's more of like, you know, a little love story, but this doesn't feel like that, you know what I mean? So I am doing, after I've done the wet distressing on this part, I'm just painting over, and I decided to spray this because it is on a raised surface. Yeah, I've only done like 4 paint inlays in my life. Let's try doing some paint inlays on a multi-level surface. Guys, I'm just, showing you how it is over here. But I do want these busts, not these busts, I do want these cameos to have a very distressed look to them. I think if they were perfectly transferred here, I don't think it would be the look that I wanted. So I am okay with it being on a raised surface and just to see how this goes. These scallops are going to be going on the edges, just cutting what I need, kind of like a transfer. Make sure you cut what you need when it's dry, and then you can put it on like a transfer, but it is very different with its paint effect. So I re-wet it and pulled it off. Now, this is not a perfect impression, and I am okay with that. I like the distressed look, and that is what I would be going for anyway. Let me know in the comments below, is there something that you see that I'm doing to make it be a more distressed transfer? I would love to learn. I am not claiming to be a complete expert on this inlay, although with my first one, I crushed it, I will link a video to that one right here. But look at this. I love how this is coming out. I love that this didn't go, like it didn't transfer all the way, and I'm okay with that. I'm gonna go outside. I'm gonna put a clear coat on the top so that it doesn't smear. I did big top as well as a top coat for everything because the DIY paint needs to be completely sealed. And then after that dried, I went over the whole thing with dark wax to give it that aged, been around the block look. And I'm really loving the patina of this project. Let me know in the comments below, what do you think of my little chest? My neighbor was cleaning out their basement and I got another free item. Henry came and checked it out. He did smell some animals on it, so he needed to let me know. But I got this little end table for free, and it looked like they had tried to paint it with some type of chalk paint. They only did one coat, didn't quite finish. So it's going to be an easy update. And Henry is checking to make sure I am happy in the basement. So I cleaned up the piece really well and went over it with one coat of Apothecary, and that covered really, really well, especially since that dark wood that it was originally had already been, let's just call it a primer coat, to help me get the color to look the way I wanted it to look. So I'm just going over the whole piece with one coat of Apothecary before I grab the inlay and see which pieces I want to use on this. At first, I was going to use a whole bunch of them on all the slats, thought that would be really cool, but then I was like, you know what? I am more into subtle. So let's just start with the drawer. And I added this particular piece to the front of the drawer. Just did that second coat of paint, put the inlay down into it, made sure that it adhered, and then when I put the water on it, I was like, I do not like how this brown, tan, taupe, whatever color family you want this to be, looks more like an orange when it's against Apothecary. I did not really love that. So after I let it dry completely, I went ahead and resaturated the paint inlay so that it could be reactivated and get ready for me to pull away from the piece. And when I did that, I'm like, you know what? This is okay. I don't love it. I don't love these color combinations. So I went where the little pieces were, I went with the wet wipe and just kind of got rid of some of those wrinkles that I didn't do a great job of smoothing out with the inlay. And then I decided, you know what, let me see if I like any of these other DIY paint colors better as a combination with this particular inlay. So I had this little scrap piece of wood that I guess made look kind of like a wonky house, and I used the color Skeleton Key. Love, this is one of my very favorite DIY colors. Skeleton Key has this chameleon color. It can read gray, it can read blue. It's just such a beautiful neutral. But I thought this would look really good with that orangey brown. So I did this little tester piece and I confirmed my suspicions. This is the color I should have used in the first place on this little end table. So after realizing that, do I just keep moving forward with a piece that I'm not a super fan of the color? Or do I repaint the whole thing Skeleton Key? Well, you know what I did. I repainted this whole piece. I just did one coat though. I only had to do one coat of Skeleton Key because if it distressed back at all, having this Apothecary color come through the Skeleton Key, I mean, they go well together, you know, they're pretty. I just didn't like the way the Apothecary made that brown look orange. So I went over the whole thing with Skeleton Key, applied all my transfers again, used a spray coat over the top of the transfers, and then top coated the whole thing with Big Top. And I think this is a precious piece of furniture, and I am loving how these little strips of details can really make your piece look super important with very little effort. I mean, I look like I'm a pro, you know what I mean? And I just play one on TV. Okay, so I'm gonna stop now, let you watch the rest of this, and let me know in the comments below what you think. Did I make the right call by changing Apothecary to Skeleton Key? Let me know what you think in the comments below. In last week's video, I worked with Debbie Beard's collaboration Paint Inlay with IOD, and one of my favorite projects was the one that I did on an old book page. So this week I thought, okay, if these Cameo faces kind of intimidated me, let's make them look kind of fun by putting them on some music sheets. So I have an old Mozart music book and the pages are already aged. I cut out some cardboard to fit in some frames that I had thrifted, and now I'm just going over this cardboard with DIY's Liquid Patina as my decoupage medium, and I am just going to use this to glue this music sheet onto the cardboard, and then I'm going to put it on the top as well and use it as the transfer medium for my paint inlay. So this is a little bit different because there is a top coat built into this. So I think you should not let the inlay dry as long while it's on there. But basically I am making sure that this paper is sticking nicely to the cardboard, especially on these corners. And then I'm going to go over the whole thing with one coat of Liquid Patina to kind of be like this little clear top coat on top of the paper. After that is completely dry, then I'm going to go over the whole thing again to do the transfer process. One thing that I noticed when you decoupage on top of cardboard, that it can dry kind of rounded. A little hack that I've used is stick my hand in the center and use a blow dryer to get it to dry, and it forces the cardboard to dry straight. So now I'm using the larger Cameo faces from this transfer and just cutting them out and having them be in the center of this music paper. And I think it is a really cool way to use them as decoration and as a home decor, but not commit to them on furniture. Apparently I'm having some commitment issues with these guys. So I'm going over it with the Liquid Patina, eyeballing it. That's how I roll, guys. I eyeballed it in the center, and then I am doing the lady over here, and I'm going to let it dry almost completely after re-wetting it. Again, Liquid Patina has a top coat built in, so you just have to remember the inlays were made to be used with a chalk-based or a clay-based paint. And if you have a top coat built in to your paint, there is a different type of learning curve to get it to pull away. So while that is somewhat drying, I had thrifted these gold frames that don't match exactly, but they are similar in look and size. I painted them 2 coats of Aviary the other day, wet distressed them so the gold could come back through, and then kind of just paused. So I'm going to use them in this project, and I had never done the top coat. So since I had the Liquid Patina out, I'm using the Liquid Patina as the top coat, and now I'm going back over to the inlays, pulling off the centers, and then just marrying all these pieces together for this cute upcycled thrifted frame with just using music sheets. Now, if you guys are on board with this idea, think of all the options out there. There's decoupage paper that you can marry with paint inlays. It just looks like a nice original piece of art. Used a clear top coat over the top because I did not want to smear it. What do you guys think? So what do you guys think of my 3 projects that I came up with this new IOD inlay, collaborating with Annie Sloan? I do not sell the IOD products. I can sell the Debbie's Design Diary IOD product, and that is on my website at createyourowncozy.com. But this particular one I cannot sell because I'm not a retailer yet. So if you are interested in grabbing this, go check out my friend Sonnet at sonnetsgardenblooms.com, and I'm sure she's got plenty for you to purchase over there. Let me know in the comments below which one of these 3 projects were your favorites. If you enjoyed this video, make sure you give it a thumbs up, share it with somebody that you think would enjoy it. If you're not already, please consider subscribing to my channel and hitting that notification bell to all so you get notified every time I upload a new video. Guys, thank you so much for being here. I'm thankful that you're here. Don't forget to do something that challenges you as an artist today, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye.